content will give you close to 30 to 45% of the questions. Let's say in 100 questions you attempt, 35 to 40 you will get. But what about the other questions? How do you make them correct? This is where the elimination techniques plays a major role. So close to in a week, you will be solving 75 questions. And also we had the polity test current affairs, which was 50 questions. Economic pay, we have the 50 questions current affairs test as well. So you also need to follow one test series, which will give you that additional current affairs questions. So this is going to be a very all-round approach video. Okay. We'll be dealing with almost all the things that you need to know that you have to do, especially in the last 120 days. Okay. So I will be talking about here. Firstly, I'll be talking about what you have to do in the last 120 days, which will be something which I've already done the video, but I'll be sharing that for probably 5 to 10 minutes. After that, we will dive very deeper with respect to how you have to study each and every subject out there, how you have to make, how you have to dive deeper with respect to each and every subject, how you have to understand which are the important areas to focus on each and every subject. After that, we'll be going through how you have to test yourself, because testing is the most important key, right? If you don't test yourself, you will never understand where you're going wrong. So how you have to test yourself, how you have to do the post-test analysis of the same, how you have to improve your elimination techniques and why elimination techniques is significant for UPSC. And finally, we'll be focusing on how you have to approach the paper, focus on the current affairs and each and every aspect of UPSC. So I have said in the starting of the video, this is going to be a one-stop solution for all the strategies out there. And let me tell you, you don't need to watch any other strategies, or you don't need to follow any other strategies apart from what I am saying here. Okay. So before going into the session, let me introduce myself for those who don't know me, because it has been gone in Telegram and YouTube and everywhere. So my name is Sreejay Sir. As you can see here, I had the Dominate Prelims program of Civilsdaily. So previously, I have been working in academies in Kerala, namely Lead, Fortune, and other academies. Now I'm working in Civilsdaily, as all of you know. So with regards to my UPSC preparation, I have given 4 mains, and I have cleared 5 GS papers as well. In my last attempt, I did not qualify the CSAT paper. So that's regarding me, regarding the prelims preparation. I have consecutively qualified 5 GS papers. Okay. And this is why these strategies are important. And I'll also share my strategies with you. Okay. Now, first of all, let me ask you, is scoring 100 in prelims a very big thing? Is such a very hard thing? In my opinion, no. For the fact that, why does almost all the aspirants fail or fail to cross above 100? It's for the fact that students actually does not know what the areas they have to focus first of all. They'll just end up reading the whole of Lakshmigam and they don't prioritize parliament, judiciary, and all the other things. So strategies are the main reason, or the lack of elimination techniques, or the lack of how to do the paper is one of the major significant reasons why students actually fail in the prelims. Now, firstly, we'll be talking about all the mistakes that you have to avoid, and after that, we actually go into the session. Okay. Now, going into the session here, first of all, let me tell you, you have to start now. Okay. So we are close to January 25, Jan 26, Republic Day, and you have to start at the earliest. Okay. Even if you have qualified prelims before, okay, it does not mean that you have to completely ignore prelims and start after March, April or something. If you're aiming for 2026 prelims, you have to start now. At least OTC, at least 10% or 20% of your time, you have to start now. Now, how should you start yourself? Okay. First of all, last 20 days, no random strategies. Okay. Try to follow what I'm saying here. Now, first of all, this is with respect to what you have to know. Okay. If you have never qualified prelims, or let's say even you have qualified prelims for the first time, you need to start ABI. Okay. At least 75% of your time, you need to start ABI. Okay. Let's say if you're investing close to 10 hours in a day, close to 8 hours or 6 hours, you have to mandatorily focus on the prelims only. And rest of the time, you can focus on mains, essays. But if you're focusing on mains, do make sure that you go with those topics which concurrently relate to prelims. For example, art and culture is something, mostly the prelims and mains are the same. Polity, you can focus. Economic development, you can focus. But you try to avoid those topics such as internal security, disaster management, society, social justice, optional, ethics, which does not have any relation with the prelims. Okay. So if you're doing mains, you can definitely continue the same, but only till Feb 8 if you're a first timer or someone who has qualified prelims once. But if you're a veteran, you have qualified prelims close to 3 to 4 times, you can completely shift to prelims after March 16. The last 70 days, you can completely focus on the same. actually focus on the main topics which you have scored probably less number of marks, which resulted in not your qualification into the holy PDF. Okay. So what are the topics we'll be discussing? As I already said, we'll be first talking about the plan, how to study, test, evaluate, improving the micro claims, and whatnot. Okay. Now, first of all, what do you need to do in the next 120 days? Right. This is the most important thing. And let me tell you, you have to divide your preparation phase into phase of 3. Okay. The first phase will be, that is from January to March, probably March 16th or March 26th. You have to make your static very strong. Okay. So the first approach will be to make your static very strong. Okay. By focusing on one subject in 2 weeks or one subject in a single week. Now, after making your static strong, what do you do? In the next 30 days, after the 50 days, in March and April, you have to go on a revision-based approach. Right. So in the revision-based approach, you can probably do 2 subjects on a daily basis, or you can complete 2 subjects. You can complete one subject in probably like 3 days or 4 days. But in exactly 1 week, you try to finish at least 2 subjects. Now, what are we doing here? Here we are dedicating the 1 whole week for a particular subject. After that, we'll be doing close to 2 subjects in a day. And in the last phase of 40 days, what do? We mostly follow the PYQs. We mostly focus on the micro themes, and you start doing full test. Okay. This is how the basic approach should be. Okay. So in the first 50 days from January to March, what do? You need to have a very daily syllabus. Every day you need to have a daily syllabus, and you need to complete that. After completing the daily syllabus, you need to attempt close to 25 to 50 questions. Right. And when you attempt the 20 to 50 questions, what you will understand? Let's say you are attempting parliament. And parliament, after you have written that test, you will understand that parliamentary committees are very weak. Parliamentary procedures, such as the bills, you are very weak. For example, you might be very weak in speaker and deputy speaker. This is why attending test is very important. Okay? Because only when you attempt the test, you will clear-cut understand which particular theme that you are lacking. And you need to focus more on that. Now, the other question will be, should you focus on each and every topic out there? No. Let's say, for example, making on the Constitution pay 10 questions you attempted, and then only you got 1 correct. Now, should you read the making of the Constitution completely? Definitely no, for the fact that it's not an important micro theme. All right. What about citizenship? Hardly 1 question have come in the last 15 years. Therefore, only when you make mistakes in the micro themes, and micro themes are those topics in which UPSC have asked close to 3 to 4 questions in the last 15 years, you need to revise the same. Okay. So complete the daily syllabus, do daily test, at least 50 questions or 25 questions, understand the micro theme gap, and you revise the same. This is how you make your static very strong. Okay. Now, what happens in the second phase? Second phase, we will mostly be doing close to 100 questions in a day. Okay. Like for example, polity pay, you can dedicate close to 3 to 4 days for polity, and you can do papers from different academies, and you understand which are the micro themes you are lacking, and you focus on that. Okay, the same approach, but we won't be taking 14 days for polity or 40 days for economy. Hardly in 5 to 6 days of 3 to 4 days, you need to complete the subject. So in 30 days, you need to complete the whole syllabus in the second phase. But in the second phase, what do? We start doing the PYQs. Okay, we will focus on the PYQs as well. And on the last phase, what do? We mostly study the content on the basis of PYQs. Let's say, do we study the citizenship, making of the Constitution, parliamentary group, parliamentary forum, and all the less important areas? No, we will be completely avoiding the same. Mostly, we'll be focusing on, let's say, judiciary, parliament, fundamental duties, and all the important topics out there. Secondly, you need to attempt close to 25 full test. Okay. You need to attempt close to 25 full test, and at least 10 to 15 open mocks is something you have to attempt, right? Because you have to get acclimatized with the UPSC wala pressure wala feeling. Obviously, UPSC wala pressure wala feeling is something that we cannot replicate even in the open test. But you try to do at least mock test so that you need to test yourself. Am I comfortable with someone sitting next to you? You need to test yourself with the pen that you're going to use in the exam. So all these things, underlining the OMR and everything, you need to test yourself in these open mock tests. Okay. And one more thing, you need to study the PYQs and its content. For the fact that, let's say, for example, in 2026, a question came with respect to Aragata, right? 2025. And Aragata was a question that UPSC asked in the I guess 2016. So at least the last 10 years of important options and important all the questions and this example, which are evergreen in nature, right? Which are not from the current affairs, but UPSC tend to repeat itself. All these content you have to revise in the last 40 days. And mostly you have to focus on the micro themes only, as I said before. So this is a very generalized plan which I'm saying here. I'll dive deeper with respect to what you have to do in each of the phase as well. Now, what do you do in the first days? This is what I'll be focusing more on this webinar here. Okay. So the first and the basic thing is you have to understand what you have to study. Right. Understanding is the most important key. Kiss micro theme important there. Kiss micro theme pe UPSC asked, how does UPSC ask questions with respect to each and every micro theme? This is what you have to master first of all. Basically, you have to understand what are the important chapters in each and every subject. How deep does UPSC ask a question with respect to each and every chapter? After that, you study the important chapters, important themes, important topics. After that, you attend the test. Then you understand the micro themes that you're lacking and you revise the micro theme. This is what you have to do. Okay. Now, how do you understand what you have to study? Okay. Because this is a very significant exercise, right? Let's say if you take all the PYQs and if you start analyzing yourself, you might not be able to do it. Or let's say if you're a veteran who have attempted like 3 to 4 times, you will be able to do it. But if you're a starter or if you're a fresher or attempted possibly like 1 to 2 attempts, it might be something very difficult for you, right? So that is why you can watch my videos. It's already available in YouTube. So in these videos, I dive very deeper with respect to almost all the subjects out there and clearly pinpoint what are the micro themes, what are the sources you have to study with respect to each and every subject, what are the chapters you have to ignore, what are the areas to focus, what are the less important areas, and what are the areas to skip. Okay. So you can watch my lectures and understand how UPSC asks questions and what is the number of questions asked by UPSC in each and every chapter. And let me show you an example regarding the same with respect to how deep you have to understand by focusing on the PYQs. Because PYQs, UPSC tend to repeat itself. Okay. Most of the people call UPSC as unpredictable public service commission. Let me tell you, in my 6 years of experience, UPSC is not unpredictable. There are significant micro themes in which UPSC asks most of these questions. So therefore, you need to stick to that. At least 90% of your time, you need to be focusing on that important topics only. Okay. Now, let's say, for example, I'll ask all your doubts. After a particular point of time, I have to solve your doubts. Let's say, for example, how to study ancient and medieval history. Now, why do you need to really understand how to study ancient and medieval history? For the fact that UPSC hardly asks like 1 question or 2 questions with respect to ancient and medieval history, right? Therefore, you need to pinpointly understand how you have to do it, or else you will end up reading all the sources out there. Now, as I told before, be very smart, right? You should not be dedicating 14 days or 15 days for ancient and medieval history or be it in art and culture. Because if you can see here, only 8 questions come from ancient medieval history and art and culture. So therefore, you need to be spending only that significant amount of time for these subjects, right? But for polity and economics or geography, even for that matter, you can spend more amount of your time. So spend only considerably less amount of time for those subjects in which hardly any questions come, right? Now, as you have understood, 8 questions come from the same. Now, is it the only analysis that you have to do? No. Now let's dive deeper. So always remember, you should be diving at least 3 levels deeper with respect to each and everything. Okay. Now the first level of analysis would be ancient history pe kitne questions aata hai, right? Ancient history pe UPSC asks 2 questions every year. In ancient history, what are the UPSC's favorite areas? Let's say, for example, I have given here when a sites diya hai, right? Sites is one of UPSC's favorite area. For example, even in 2025, UPSC ने महाजनपदास के बारे में एक क्वेश्चन पूछा. Now, with respect to sites, which is UPSC's favorite area, and if you look at the same, you will understand that Ashokan edicts or the Ashokan pillars or Ashokan sites is UPSC's favorite area. So always dive three levels deeper. Polity पे कौन सी important है? Polity पे parliament important है. Parliament पे कौन सी important है? Right? Parliamentary, you have bills. Parliament where you have parliamentary procedures, parliamentary deputy speaker, parliamentary procedures, everything. So always dive these 3 levels deeper, right? So for example, art and culture by art questions. In art and culture, you can see here ancient history pay. Most important would be literature or Buddhism philosophies और फॉर एग्जाम्पल हिस्टोरिक साइट्स, इंडस वैली सिविलाइजेशन के बारे में 6 क्वेश्चंस पूछा है, बुद्धिज्म जैनिज्म पे 2 क्वेश्चन, नॉट मोर देन 2 क्वेश्चंस, Jainism पे 6 questions, medieval architecture पे 9 questions, and among that you dive deeper. As you can see here, historic sites पे अशोका पे यूपीएससी ने इतना सारा questions पूछा, 4 questions UPSC वन. So always dive these 4 levels deeper to understand which are the areas important. Right. Now what do you need to do? अभी हम ancient history में बात, art and culture और पूरा history में बारे में बात करेंगे. So let's say, as I told you, 8 to 10 questions come with respect to ancient, medieval history and art and culture, right? Now, you have to understand, since only 8 to 10 questions come, should you spend considerable amount of time revising more number of sources? No. You have to basically understand the question's difficulty, right? So when you understand the question difficulty, it will give you a better clarity on the number of sources you have to follow. Okay. Let's say, for example, let's analyze the difficulty of ancient and medieval history questions. As you can see here, this was questions from 2025. Even if you have read significant number of books, let's say you have read Lucent, Poonam Dalal Dakia, Tamil Nadu NCRT, NCRTs, Udan, or be it any other academy's book, these are questions you might never get, right? So in 2025, there was 2 such questions. 2024 paid, these questions was a bit difficult, I would say. This was something very difficult. Probably this is something that some of you would have gotten. 2023 pay, 3 questions have been hard, right? 2022 pay, close to 6 questions have been hard. Nettipranaga, Somnath Temple, Kuladhar, and Yoga Vasishta. These questions were very hard, right? So always remember, in case of ancient, medieval, and art and culture, close to 2 to 3 questions will be very hard out of the 8 questions. And there will be at least 2 questions which are very easy as well. Let's say in 2025, these 2 questions were very easy, right? 2023, these questions were very easy, right? Pompo or Mushiri was something very easy. 2022, 2 questions was something very easy. Now, what do you understand? Among the 8 questions asked in these topics, 2 will be something you will never get, even if you read significant amount of sources. 2 to 3 will be something very easy. So what is the remaining? Abhi kya baki hai? So if only 2 to 3 questions are remaining, right? So just to get the 2 to 3 extra additional questions, should you read more number of sources? No. So what do you have to do? Just understand that if the question is difficult for you, sabko difficult hoga. So therefore, limit your sources. Now on my orientations, I discuss the sources, right? So different sources, only 2 to 3 questions. So I'll just tell you one standard book, be it Punandala, be it anything, Udan or anything. TNSCRT can be a standard book, and just follow 6th NCRT and 12th NCRT. Right. So ignore Arush Sharma. Then important micro themes I'll talk about in my orientation. What are the important micro themes? After that, literature is important, administration of Gupta Maurya is important, science is important, Indus Valley is important. And in the micro themes, I'll talk about what are the literature questions asked. And then I will be talking about these are the areas to focus. So let me tell you, this is the level of depthness that any orientation session should be there in any of the academies. And if your academy is not providing something such deeper orientations, definitely you need to watch my video. Okay, because this level type of orientation you need to have. Then only you will understand which are the areas you have to significantly ignore. And also, let me tell you, in case of UPSC, you don't need to study anything under the sun. There are certain areas, UPSC's favorite areas. If you study the same, close to 60 to 70% of the questions, you will be able to answer. Okay. So this is how the orientation should be done. Now, after you have watched my orientations, you have understood that, okay, fine, these are the areas to focus, these are the areas to ignore. Now you study that. Now, after studying, what do you need to do? Now, in my previous academies, let me tell you, when I was working in Kerala, none of the academies had a 50 question test series. Okay. Most of the academies out there followed, especially in Delhi as well. Most of the academies only have 100 question test series in the week. Now, what is the issue with the 100 question test series? Let's tell you, there's a 100 question test series with respect to polity, and only 10 questions were there, in the parliament. Let's say they asked 10 questions with respect to the parliament. Now, will you be able to understand which are the areas in parliament that you are weak if only 10 questions were asked in parliament? Let's say, for example, constitutional bodies, the academy that you're following asked only 5 questions. Now, let's say you got 3 correct. Are you really understanding whether you are weak in constitutional bodies or non-constitutional bodies if only 5 questions comes from a particular topic? No. you're not understanding. That is why doing at least 50 questions in a day is something very important. And you need to do that, because after we have introduced that in Civilsdaily, even I am able to get the difference about how much a very big difference that is making. Because students are able to pinpoint, let's say, parliament pay. They know that parliament powers is something very important. They understood that, okay, fine. In case of a question comes between governor and president, some of the students are facing some issues. So they can compare and study the president and governor. This is Schedule 5 pay. They're having a lack of clarity with respect to tribal advisory councils or tribal autonomous districts. So when you do a 50 question test series, you will be able to pinpoint which where you're going wrong, and you will get really good conceptual clarity with respect to all the topics. That is the importance of doing a 50 question test series. Okay. So what do you have to do? You have to test, evaluate, and read and improve. Okay. So identification of the gap through doing a 50 question test series. And how do you fill the gap? Let's say for TP mistake here, then what do? You read the standard book regarding the same. Let's say, for example, presidential powers pay up, you made significant number of mistakes. So what do? You read the chapter once again. This is what you have to do. Okay. Yeah. So 50 questions, this is what we are offering. 50 question test series to test your knowledge. As you can see here, Indian economy will start from 26 of economy. So we have a daily test series, and something very important. Most of the questions are basically on the PYQs only. We try to mimic or decode the PYQs and ask PYQs from the same. So what do you have to do? Attend a 50 question test series. And if you're getting close to 60%, or let's say 45%, 75% less accuracy with respect to the micro theme, what do you need to do? You need to read the flash notes, or you need to read the standard book of the same. Let's say you're getting 90% accuracy and only one question that you have made mistake. Therefore, you don't need to read the whole chapter. You can just read the particular fact which you got it wrong. But let's say if your accuracy is less than 50% with respect to important micro theme, then you need to revise the whole standard book of that particular micro theme. This is what you have to do. And this is a daily process. So test karo, analysis karo, you identify the lack of micro theme, and then you read the micro theme. You read the particular standard book. This is what you have to do on a daily basis. Let me tell you, this is a very significant exercise. Most of the students are doing very well. We can see the scores improving very much. Okay. And what are the flash notes? You can either revise from the standard book, or you can read from a flash notes. And flash notes is something very good in my opinion. Okay, we have a daily rank list as well. Now, what are flash notes? It's basically a prelims friendly revision note. We have flash notes for all the 135 most important micro themes out there. So in the flash notes, what do we do? Flash notes is basically a revision book. Okay. So Abhi, you don't have to focus on the flash notes, but in case of your second or third revision, which you will do in the March, as I said, in the revision approach, in the 30 days between the first phase and the third phase, you can focus on the flash notes. So in the flash notes, basically, we identify all the micro themes, and then we provide all the PYQs with respect to that micro theme. As you can see here, micro themes, PYQs, micro themes, PYQs. And on the basis of that, we analyze them. We give a very detailed analysis of each and every micro theme. For example, what do you have to focus on each and every micro theme? The depth of the questions, the repetitive patterns. So what are the recurring UPSC themes? What should be the approach? On the basis of that analysis, we provide the note, not some random note or something. On the basis of what UPSC have asked, let's say Ganga Pe UPSC have asked the tributaries, so probably UPSC can ask about the Brahmaputra as well. So we provide the river cities tributaries with respect to Brahmaputra as well. This is how the flash notes are made. Okay. So you can either read from the standard books, or you can revise from the flash notes. Okay. Now we also provide content with respect to the flash notes as well. As you can see here, because UPSC tend to repeat all those topics, right, which are very evergreen in nature, which UPSC tend to repeat itself. As you can see here, the cement manufacturing is a question that UPSC asked in 2025. So therefore, what did we provide in the flash notes? We have provided the key processes of almost all the industries, because this is something that UPSC can repeat, right? So this is how the flash notes are framed. 2025 question. On the basis of that, we provide the 2026 content. So you can revise from the flash notes. It's something very beautiful. You can download the link of the flash notes from our YouTube videos. Okay. Now, the second most important thing is after you have watched my orientation, you have taken the test series, you do the test, you understand where your micro theme, you revise the flash notes and make sure that you have a really good factual and conceptual clarity. Now, the most important thing is content only enough? Now, what do you think? Is content will studying, let's say you're very good in content, will you sail through the prelims? What do you think, everyone? Ashley is saying no, Chitra, Ashley, okay. Chitra is saying, David is saying no. Now, that is where you have to actually focus on the elimination techniques as well. Right. Now, that is why this is something very key. You have to focus on the elimination techniques as well. For the fact that, let me tell you, content will give you close to 30 to 45% of the questions. Let's say in 100 questions you attempt, 35 to 40 you will get. But what about the other questions? How do you make them correct? This is where the elimination techniques plays a major role. Okay. So let me tell you, to be on the safer side in UPSC Prelims, you can see here, you need to get at least 60 or 58 or 59 to be on the safer side. To be on the safer side, we can say that definitely you need to get 60. Let's say you attempt 100 questions, 60 आपकी correct हो गया, you will get 120 marks. Plus the 40 negative marks as 40 incorrect questions if you make, you will lose 26.40. So that's like you will receive close to 93 to 94 marks. And 93 to 94 is something solid for UPSC because from 2022, the UPSC cutoff has always been below 90. And we expect this year close to 91 or 92, but never above 93 or 94. Now, how do you get to 60 correct in UPSC? That's an important question, right? Now, how do you get it correct? 35 to 40, 30 to 35 will be pure content. It will be pure content that you will get it in the first term, right? The next 15 to 20 will be on the basis of content plus knowledge, right? Close to 15 to 25, I can say. And the next 5 to 10, or let's say 10 questions will be on the basis of logic. For example, you go when two options are identical, you go with one. When any option is very specific, you go with one. You do word deconstruction, you go with the patterns, 5 by 3, 6 by 4. You do all these different things, right? So this is why, I mean, people ask me how I cleared or how I am very confident. Even I am pretty confident that even if I write the prelims tomorrow, I will definitely clear. For the fact that I'm pretty good in my elimination techniques. And that is what I teach here. One of the most, that is why we made elimination techniques as one of the most important component of dominant prelims as well. Right. So this is why you need to improve your elimination techniques. For the fact that, let me also tell you, these are the number of questions which you would have been solved through elimination techniques in the last 3 years. And you might believe that I'm bluffing here, but close to 37 questions could have been solved even in 2025 if we were really good in your elimination techniques. And I'll show you the examples here. Okay. So this is why this is very important. So here in the 67 question, you can see here the word single-handedly. If you have eliminated that, you would have gotten the answer. Here you can see everywhere. It's something incorrect, right? It's not everywhere. You can use a 1% logic here. It provides only benefit in aviation. No. 44th you can use your 1% logic. Some earth, some rare earth, no power, something very extreme here. In all the states, definitely no. There is no mention. There is no regulatory body, definitely incorrect. These are basically the level 1 questions, right? Wherein you eliminate all the extreme words, all, every, can, may, all these different extreme words, right? Now, so I have basically divided all the elimination techniques out there into 4 levels here. The first one is very easy with respect to all these extreme words here. The second one is where we'll be mostly going with the patterns, 5, 3, 6, 4, where you do go with the most specific option and all these different things. Okay, I'll explain in detail later. So it's 5 by 3 is a binding declaration. It's an extreme word, therefore you can make it incorrect. And when UPSC asks 4-pair questions, in all the questions asked by UPSC with respect to the 4-pair questions, apart from 2 questions, so UPSC have asked 8 questions with respect to 4-pair questions, and out of that 6 was only 2, right? When UPSC asked 4 very big statements, ever in the last 10 years, all the above has been answered. Mostly it's always only 3. So UPSC has been going with these patterns here, right? 6 by 4, 6 by 4, 5 by 3. Mostly 8 questions that UPSC asked in pattern question here. Only 1 question went against the pattern. and it was a time zone wala question. For all the questions, UPSC went with the pattern itself. But let me tell you, pattern is not something that you do in the first phase. But if you're confused between two options and you don't have any other, you have exhausted all your eliminations and fractional knowledge, you can go with the pattern. So level 3 pay, it's something much difficult, wherein you go with what UPSC have given in the headings and not in the statements. This will be level 3 here. Several folds and everything. I'll explain in detail in my elimination techniques out there. And level 4 will be you go with the content, right? Let's say, for example, nature restoration law. Now, who can make a law? To make a law, we need a parliament. You need a legislative body. And only European Union have a legislative body here, right? Now, nature solutions finance for Asian Pacific. Now, which of the bodies deal with Asian Pacific here? IBRD does not deal. New Development Bank does not deal. It deals with A and B, right? And Asian Development Banks is more into environment. Asian Infrastructure Investment Bank is a China-dominated body. Therefore, mostly they don't focus on nature solutions. So you can go with A here. So level 4 would be something that deal with content plus logic rather than just purely logic. Okay. So all these questions here I have discussed about in one of my sessions. You can watch that. So that's what I'm saying you. Elimination techniques is a very key. And you might be wondering that this is something that everyone knows. No. Level 1 wala questions is something that you will get. And most of the questions in 2025 was level 1. But to get the level 2, level 5, and level 6 wala questions, let me tell you, it's very hard to get the same. You need to train yourself. You need to train yourself for a significant amount of time. That's the only way that you can master the same. Okay. Now, that is the reason why we have introduced this 1 month long elimination techniques program, okay, which will start on February 2nd as well. Now, already we have done the same. It was done from November 1st to November 28th. So already the recordings are available. But if you want to watch my live session, you can start watching, which will happen on February 2nd. Okay. So we will be having 5 lectures in the beginning. After that, we'll be solving 30 questions. And after that, these 5 lectures will be close to 2 hours long. So I will go from level 1, all the very basic logic such as can, may, to the level 4 wala logic, wherein you can use your content, wherein you have to think politically, socially, economically, wherein you have to think, how can UPSC say that, wherein you have to think geographically, future, quantity wise. So there are different approaches out there wherein you have to master. So what does an aspirant usually do? An aspirant just randomly start thinking things, right? But you have to structure it as how you structure a mains answer. You have to think politically, you have to think socially, you have to think economically, you have to think geographically, in the future-based approach, in the quantity-based approach. So these different approaches which I'm going to teaching you, which will significantly help you. Okay. I can see that with the dominant students who have watched the same, and I can see their marks improving as well. Okay. Now, is the watching videos only enough? In my opinion, no. Because you might have this good wala feeling that, okay, fine, I have done something. Now I can directly attempt the UPSC. No, you need to practice yourself, right? You need to significantly practice yourself. So that is why, as a part of Dominate as well, as a part of 50 questions as well, we have in every 50 questions, close to 15 to 20 will be logical in nature, right? And the test discussion that I do on a daily basis on all the Monday to Friday, we mostly discuss the logical questions. Apart from certain polity, we discuss all the questions, but with respect to art and culture, ancient, medieval, modern history, in the first batch, we only discuss mostly the logical questions. So you have to attend the questions and you need to watch the discussions, which will significantly help you to understand how you have to think, right? And also the questions as well, we'll be introducing the same exact questions in which UPSC also does. So we'll be introducing word deconstruction questions. We'll be introducing, the level 1 wala questions. We'll be introducing the extreme words. So all these different techniques that UPSC also introduced, in which the UPSC, UPSC is testing you on the basis of elimination techniques. We also introduce the same in our test series as well. Okay. Be the extreme words and headings and everything out there. Okay. Okay. So what do you have to do? First of all, you have to watch my 16 lectures, which is already recorded out there as a part of Dominant Prelims, or you can watch the the batch which starts on February 2nd. You can watch that. After, you can take the questions and you can watch my test discussion as well. This is what you have to do. So only watching the elimination series is not enough. You have to attend the test. You have to master the questions. You have to do the questions, and after, you have to watch my logical elimination discussion as well. Now, should you watch the complete elimination discussions? Definitely not. After you feel that you have gotten a hold of the elimination techniques, then you can stop it. You can stop watching my discussions as well. Okay. Now, another important question is what about the current affairs? Now, for the fact that why is current affairs important? Right. Now, why is current affairs important? Because if you actually look into UPSC, you can see here that the current affairs questions are also increasing. So before 2021, hardly 20-25 questions. This was a usual trend of current affairs. But when you compare 2022 onwards, especially 2025 pay, you can see here close to 36 questions were current affairs. So current affairs is also something you have to master. Okay. So first I told you regarding the static part. Secondly, I told you regarding the elimination. Current affairs is also something you have to master. Okay. For the fact that 30+ questions come from the current affairs. And I'll show you these are the current affairs questions in 2025. Right. 2 questions were on sports, international years, international relation, BRICS, Gagan AI Summit, Gandhi Jury Prize, Nature Restoration Law, Axiom, Dornier, Indian Railway Plan, UPI. All these were the current affairs questions. Right. So close to 37 current affairs questions were there. Okay. And these are the important topics you can note down, Abhi. Okay, or you can take a screenshot or something. These are the important current affairs topics that UPSC always follows. Okay, you can take a screenshot regarding the same. Schemes, mission, policies, bill, act, laws, key reports and the findings, international organizations, grouping, summit, species, protected areas, India mapping, space programs, emerging technologies, historical sites, social reformers, 100-year anniversaries, 50-year anniversaries, 25-year anniversaries. Sports news also is something very important. So these are the important current affairs topics, right? Now, how can you master the same? Now, aspirants actually do 2 things, right? First of all, they will watch any videos with respect to, let's say, any of the videos out there, be it our Samasha Mandanwala videos, Mudde Chainwala videos, or all the other that. Those aspirants who does not have the time, what they do, they will either focus on any of the monthly magazine if they have started reading from June, or they will follow any annual magazine, for example, PT 365 or our annual magazines, right? But the question here is the magazines, you can't read 2 magazines, right? You can definitely cannot read 2 magazines. One magazine will give you 80% of the information. For just to get the rest of 25%, you can never read 2 magazines. Now, how do you solve this problem? This is an important question, right? How do you solve this problem? Now, that is why, as I told you, our Sarvamasha Manthan magazine, this is our monthly magazine. If you read the same, you will only get close to 70 to 75% of the questions. Now, what about the next 25? It's not possible for you to read the newspapers. It's not possible for you to read any other magazine. So what do you do? Now, that is why, as a part of Dominate as well, among the 50 questions that we do on a daily basis, 10 questions from, so we have 50 questions, okay. Static questions are from 1 to 35. Current affairs questions are from 35 to 45. And the last 5 questions are PYQs. So 10 questions are current affairs on the daily test. And on the weekly advanced test that we have, the 100-question test, 25 questions are current affairs. So close to in a week, you will be solving 75 questions. And also we had the polity test current affairs, which was 50 questions. Economic pay, we have the 50 questions current affairs test as well. So you also need to follow one test series, which will give you that additional current affairs questions. And you can see here, we'll be providing the why in news. These are the current affairs questions, which you can see in our test series. And also one more thing, as we in the second phase, I told you in the revision phase, right? So it starts from March 16th. So we have these 40 hours of revision classes. Out of that, 36 hours will be on current affairs. As you can see here, history current affairs 1, polity current affairs 1, geographical locations in news, environment sites in news, species in news, economic survey and budget, So these are the most important areas in which UPSC asks the questions. That is why you will be having a class regarding this. And this will be 2 hours classes. So 20 classes till April 10th. And after 10th April, on 12th April, we'll be starting the full test. So this is how the things are planned. Daily test, improving your starting, followed by the revision phase, wherein you do other current affairs as well, and followed by the full test which start from April 12th. So this is how you close the current affairs loop as well. Okay. Now, so you have managed your starting, you have done your elimination, and you have done your current affairs as well. The final part is how you have to do the paper. Now, regarding doing the paper, you can watch my 2 videos. Now, doing the paper is very important. Okay. Why does an aspirant fail? Or why is an aspirant not able to think properly when it comes to the actual paper? It's because that you are not managing your time properly, right? You're not managing your time properly, which will get you in that pressure cooker wala feeling, right? At the moment of 1 hour 30 minutes, you will feel that I have only done 50 questions. After that, the pressure comes in, and you'll just randomly start solving questions. Now, this is not what you have to do, right? So what do you have to do? You can watch my lectures. These 2 lectures, these 2 videos are out there in the YouTube. But let me tell you something very briefly. You need to plan your paper in 30 minutes, right? Now, if you're someone who does very slow, you can complete the first round in 1 hour. Wherein what do you do? The first half an hour, you do questions from 1 to 50, followed by 50 to 100 in the next half an hour. Now, in the second round, what do? You take 25 minutes. The first 1 to 50, the second round first to 1 to 50 questions, you can do in the first 25 minutes, followed by 50 to 100 in the next 25 minutes. And the third round, you can do in the last 10 minutes. Through 3 rounds, you don't need to follow this when you do the sectional paper. But when you start doing the revision paper and the full test, you need to follow 3 rounds. Okay. You can watch my videos. And if you're someone who makes the silly mistakes, as I always say, you need to underline and circle each and every line. So this is how, let me tell you, this is what you should be following. Okay. So you don't need to watch any random n number of videos, strategic videos out there, put out by all these other YouTubers out there. You can follow my strategy because I have meticulously tried this. For the past 4 years, I've been mentoring in different academies. And I believe that I have mastered the approach that you need to clear for the last 120 days.